Tonight on News 5 Live, the new sugarcane crop season opens as tensions between farmers and ASR-BSI de-escalate. Caneros threaten to protest if previous production estimates were not changed. Exploring cannabis cultivation and hemp production as part of the new growth industries, will there be sufficient room for all the players in this lucrative venture? A man was shot dead inside his house on Christmas Day. His family believes jealousy led to his murder. And a fatal crash in the Corozal district on Christmas Day leaves a pair of kids motherless. Details of these stories and more coming up in tonight's Newscast.
If we are only as strong as our families,
Welcome to News 5 Live for Tuesday, December 29th. I am Marlene Cuellar. The 2020-2021 sugarcane crop season commenced on Monday, December 28th. But unlike previous years, it was without festivities and fanfare. There was, however, growing tension between cane farmers and the miller over production estimates. As we reported on Thursday, ASR-BSI was prepared to receive cane delivery on December 14th, but farmers had expressed concerns on their abilities to deliver cane given the floods. The quality of the cane was also a concern. The date was pushed back to Monday despite the concerns of hundreds of cane farmers who believe that under the agreed production estimates, more than 2,700 cane farmers would be negatively affected. An intense meeting was held on Sunday where the associations indicated that they were not willing to start the crop season with the estimates as previously presented. In fact, the farmers had warned that they would hold protests to make their concerns heard. That open discussion was held by the Sugar Industry Control Board and was attended by 6 of the 11 directors, constituting a quorum for the meeting. Neither ASR-BSI nor the Progressive Sugarcane Producers Association or the Corzall Sugarcane Producers Association sent representation to the meeting. During the special session, a motion to discuss and review the production estimates was tabled and passed. And as a result, the chairman of the Sugar Industry Control Board, Marcos Osorio, has instructed the manager of the Sugarcane Production Committee to implement the adjustments agreed on during the meeting. The adjustments to the production estimates approved ensure that cane farmers will not be impacted as negatively as before with the same losses in tonnage of cane delivered to the factory. ASR-BSI's Vice President of International Relations, Mac McLaughlin, says that all they wanted is to start the crop as soon as possible given the positive impact of improved weather conditions over the previous prolonged drought and the expected increased cane production.
For some time now, there's been a scientific verification of how much cane there is and where it is and going on. And there have been a number of meetings, in recent months about that to try and ascertain exactly what the estimate should be. The reason that's important is because you need to have a clear and accurate idea of the amount of cane so that you can program the crop. So you get the freshest, best cane in at the right times, and everybody gets a chance to deliver their cane. So there are a number of differences of opinion, I believe, among associations and about how that process should be undertaken. And as far as I'm aware, there's been a compromise position that has been accepted and that is basically based on the 2020 estimate, but looking at some of the differentials from that estimate. I mean, it's unreasonable to think there wouldn't be any impact from the drought for the following year, and we know there has been, and we're anticipating a much lower delivery of cane than perhaps already in the estimate. So, but as things stand, look, my major concern right now is that the mill is started, but it's pretty much standing idle right now, waiting for cane supply to arrive. And so, my message to farmers and to those in the industry is, let's make this a great crop. Let's get our cane in there. Let's deliver. Let's take advantage of the fact we've had much better weather this year, and therefore there's been a rebound in cane supply. It's not going to be anywhere near what it was 2 years ago, but we've had a rebound in cane supply. So we're ready to go. In fact, we are going. We've been ready to go since the 14th of December.
The Sugar Industry Control Board says that ASR-BSI did not send representation on Sunday. Why is that?
Well, look, first of all, the crop estimate's been set for a while. The start date's been set for a while. And I think when we last met, there was a discussion about bringing forward a rationalization for the way the production estimate had been calculated. And that was going to take a few days, and we were waiting for that to happen. It shouldn't interfere with the start of crop.
The cane supply for milling has been very slow, with farmers citing a range of reasons, including the poor state of feeder roads and some uncertainty over the start date. Up to 10 this morning, 137 trucks made cane deliveries to the factory, which amounted to 2,600 tons of cane. McLaughlin emphasized the requirement for steady cane supply to keep the mill operating. He says that the factory cannot run effectively with less than 5,500 tons of cane per day. Without this, the milling season can be jeopardized. McLaughlin is urging farmers to respond and deliver their cane.
We're scheduled to grind on average 6,500 tons of cane a day across the whole crop. Now, that includes the downtime of the factory, so when we're grinding, it should be around 7,000 tons of cane. Now, if there's some good times where the cane is drier and it's easier to extract the sugar, then we can maybe do a little more than that. During bad times, when it's wet, when there are issues, it may be a little less than that. As things stand, the gates are open. We have insufficient cane supply, and the mill needs a certain level of cane supply in order to run efficiently and to run at all, frankly. So we need that cane supply. We need it right now. And all I would say is that's straight from the horse's mouth. So farmers don't need to worry about any things they're hearing about stoppages of crop and all the rest of it. Let's just get on with the crop and try and make it the best crop we possibly can. If it gets to a point where there just isn't enough cane, then we have a problem, because not only do we have to stop milling, but in time, especially at the beginning of a crop, we're not going to have sufficient bagasse to keep that crop operation running. And as a result of that, we've been urging the start of this crop for some time now. And for one reason or another, it's been delayed. We're now working, we're open, the farmers are aware of that, everything's been done, the crop has been properly opened, etc., etc. So it's really just a case of everyone mobilizing and making sure that they can bring their cane in.
You said that yesteryear was a very difficult year for the crop. Do you believe that going into this year, given the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic and the flooding affecting the crop, might be the worst year for the crop?
Well, that's a very good point, indeed. And we work very hard as an industry with farmers and with ourselves, with the institutions during the beginnings of this pandemic, during the last crop, to make sure that we were as prepared, as protected as an industry as possible for this awful pandemic. We are continuing to do that. We are following guidelines. We're following all the right protocols in order to ensure that we can manage that crop safely, securely. We understand the importance of the sugar industry, both for food security for Belize, but also for the economic benefits it brings to the country as a whole. And our, intention is to ensure that we undertake all the right kind of procedures and rules to ensure that we can manage the crops safely for everybody's sake.
According to McLaughlin, the fuss over cane price estimates would become a thing of the past if the Sugar Industry Management Information System, SIMIS, is implemented and used accordingly. He says that the system will account for the amount of cane out in the fields and where. However, some farmers believe that this will impact them negatively. McLaughlin says that the system aims to predict cane price estimates accurately using scientific methods.
We have a ready-made tool for the industry called the Sugar Industry Management Information System that will, if properly utilized, and I'm anticipating that that's something that the institutions will now institute, because that's very important for really managing the crop properly and understanding how much cane there is, the supply, where it is, and all these different factors. That this is the year where that really needs to be employed fully.
Minister Abelardo Mai says that registry negatively affects 52 to 53% of the entire cane farmers in Orange Rock and Corozal. Is that something that ASR-BSI has considered or agrees?
Well, we don't want a cane estimate to negatively affect anybody. We want it to be accurate. I mean, that's all. We want it to be scientifically based and accurate. So last thing we want is we want every stick of cane to come in. That's the bottom line. So I think, you know, when we look at these issues, what's important for an estimate is that it's based on a scientific basis. You know, where is the cane? How much cane is there? You know, and what can we expect during the crop? We have to be able to plan for that. You know, we're investing heavily in a mill to be able to manage these issues. And when there's a big unknown quantity out there, it makes it more difficult to manage that. The bottom line is it's not up to us anyway.
ASR-BSI is also monitoring the global market and the effects of the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. McLaughlin says that BSI has made continuous investments to ensure that the industry remains competitive in the world sugar market. He says that on the factory side, phased expansion to increase production capacity of value-added direct consumption sugars continues. That is because direct consumption sugars attract a considerably higher premium than raw sugars and are more marketable because they require no additional processing.
Shipping costs are largely reflected in oil prices generally. You know, and as we were discussing earlier, the amount of time that vessels have to wait to be loaded. But as far as the pandemic's concerned, I suppose, you know, things that we are watching the trends is sugar consumption. What's actually happening? We're finding that there's an increase in retail sales of sugar, meaning that, you know, people are using more sugar at home, whereas industrial users of sugar are probably using less sugar. So I haven't seen any major issues that would alter the equilibrium dramatically. You know, we're always beholden as a sugar industry to global sugar prices. This is one of the issues. Now, it turns out again this year that we're going to be a global surplus of sugar. India have 6 million tons of sugar to export. On the global market, they're just waiting for the right opportunity. So that's going to keep prices depressed, unfortunately. And basically, that's why we made the investments that we made to move into sugars that can attract a higher premium, because they don't need to be refined once they get to destination. And they generally attract a higher premium. So that's why we've been putting a lot of effort over the last 4 years in that area.
The great cannabis debate is once again at the forefront of public discourse, particularly following an announcement that the Ministry of New Growth Industries is partnering with a well-known American expert and businessman in the field of cannabis cultivation. The conversation also includes the legalization of marijuana, as well as the illegal market in which cannabis is sold. Earlier today, Chief Executive Officer Alex Lavin of Growth Industries informed via a social media post of the partnership between the government of Belize and his company. A quick look at Lavin's LinkedIn profile shares the following mission statement, quote, "To cultivate quality cannabis operations and industry leaders committed to advancing best practices. I work with carefully selected clients to develop custom business strategies based on models we've successfully implemented and continuously improve upon in various states," unquote. Minister of New Growth Industries, Karim Musa, who's also the Minister of Home Affairs, starts off by discussing the hemp industry and the fact that despite a decriminalization of certain amounts of marijuana, Belize is still lagging behind in the lucrative industry.
The conversation has been going on for quite some time, many years even, because the cannabis industry has been exploding worldwide in terms of converting it from a problem to an opportunity. Other countries, including the United States, including recently Mexico, Uruguay, have all been making moves to legalize cannabis in their respective countries. Just take a look at Colorado. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry there. Belize, as you know, we have very unusual laws when it comes to cannabis. Currently, the law that is in place allows you to have possession up to 10 grams of cannabis, but where do you buy it from? You cannot grow it. You cannot purchase it. And so, legally. Yes, legally, you cannot. But you are allowed to have it and you are allowed to smoke recreationally. So what we do have in place currently is recreational use of cannabis, but no way of purchasing it or growing it. And so we as a country, we have been bystanders in this industry. We have been spectators, so to speak, watching the world pass us by in terms of progress in the cannabis industry. Many countries taking advantage of the opportunities arising, but Belize has not. I would say up to 90% of all cannabis that is recreationally consumed in Belize comes from either Mexico or the United States. And so that is a lot of Belizean dollars going out to other countries that have been taking advantage of these opportunities. Mind you, that is contraband, cannabis coming across the borders. It is illegal.
In speaking about Lavin's background and expertise in the cannabis industry, Minister Musa points out that there is no specialist in the area of cannabis farming locally. He says that with 42 licenses approved by the previous administration, none of those individuals or companies have been able to successfully manufacture cannabis in the past year.
Where we are today, 2020, on the cusp of 2021, I have been tasked by the Prime Minister to lead the Ministry of New Growth Industries, and that includes, but is not limited to, hemp, industrial hemp cultivation in Belize, as well as the possibility of cannabis cultivation and manufacturing in Belize. And so, upon assuming this particular ministry, we've been contacted at the ministry by several experts across the world, including places like Jamaica, the United States, and recently we were contacted and visited by Mr. Alex Lavine of Growth Industries in the United States. He is well-established expert and a professional and a businessman in the cannabis industry in the United States. He operates out of Rhode Island, out of California and Florida. And he has agreed to offer guidance, and believe it or not, free of cost to the people of Belize. And so this is an exciting new time for us at the ministry. So we will have this expert, because we don't have any local experts in Belize. When you look at the hemp industry in particular, it has been over 1.5 years since industrial hemp has been legalized in Belize. But you cannot point me to a single license holder that has successfully grown, manufactured, and sold hemp in this country. There are currently 42 licenses that exist over the course of 1.5 years. 42.
We'll have much more on the cannabis conversation in our newscast on Wednesday. Coming up, a Christmas Day execution in the culture capital, and another fisherman is unaccounted for at sea.
Hello, friends.
A Downgrigger resident was shot and killed inside his home on Christmas Day. Police say they don't know why Errol Gomez was gunned down, nor do they know who did it. Today we caught up with a family who shared their own theory about their loved one's demise. They say that someone wanted him dead because he had been targeted twice before. Here's that story.
29-year-old Errol Gomez was shot to death inside his house in the 3rd New Site area of Downgrigger on Christmas Day. Matthew Gomez Sr. says that he found out through a phone call, but he didn't want to believe that tragedy had struck his family that Christmas morning.
When I get a phone call from my brother morning, he told me how they killed my little son, you know? Well, at first I never really and truly believed that how they killed my elder son, you know? So I called my little niece, and she confirmed with my auntie, yes, that how they killed my son. And Christmas Day, what they was I enjoy every year. So that's my junk and thing. Then they were take when my little baby boy for me.
According to police, Errol Gomez was inside his house when he was murdered around 5 that morning. Downgrigger police responded to the scene, and there they found Gomez with apparent gunshot injuries. He was motionless on the floor. Assistant Commissioner of Police Joseph Mivett says that the investigation is yet to reveal a motive and a lead into this murder.
His common law wife was interviewed where she reported hearing Mr. Gomez walking around in the house shortly before 5 a.m. and thereafter she heard several loud bangs sounding like gunshots. As a result, she called for police, who then visited the scene. Whilst police are conducting an investigation at this point in time, we do not have any leads, but we are following up on the ground in relation to this investigation.
While investigators are still trying to find out what led to this killing, the family says they have their own suspicions about what happened that morning. Matthew Gomez Sr. says, contrary to online speculations that his son may have suffered a heart attack, his son was shot to death. But who would want Errol Gomez dead and why? Here's how Matthew Gomez Sr. responded.
My son not dead off and no heart attack. Then chance my little son and shoot my little son in the back and thing. My son didn't have no heart attack. He put on light according to he touched the back. You know? So he wouldn't try to tell me, you know, the gunman in my son's house then. That's why I want to ask the question now. Was the gunman in the house with my son? You know?
You believe the persons that were killer Noah? He know he killer?
Well, I know, yes. They will know my baby boy and thing, man. You know? They will know my son. You know?
Why do you want to kill your son, Mr. Gomez?
Jealousy. Jealous my little son.
For what? What he had?
Nothing. Just because of how he moved about and take on for himself. Just in the last time my son asked me, the 20th day of December, and my son asked me from then, Dad, please get all that stuff and go join police.
And so today, this family is convinced that Errol Gomez was killed by someone he knew. The family believes that his murder resulted from jealousy and that it may be connected to previous attempts made in his life. They allege that the woman may know more about the deadly shooting.
I chance my brother out of life, you understand? Because then this is the 3rd attempt this young lady met on my brother, you understand? She took off we loved one for we. You know how you feel if you wake up on a Christmas morning, hear your parents they cry over the phone. Well, I received that.
What happened to him
The first time she set for burn down for we house, you understand? Second time, she put for me, man chop my brother. You know, finally win a battle where me want to achieve. Only thing I could say, we want justice because my brother did not going just like that. You understand? My brother, I could say he's a loving person, caring person. He, everywhere I see him, he got a smile by his face, and that was it, my brother. He kept with a smile on his face. If he got lost, he will give it to you. He know a hold back. He will give it to you. That like my brother. He who a puzzle to we. I left everybody that Dangriga still left puzzle to say that he got.
Do you know how many gunshots he received?
Well, that the one day, I can't tell that one day one thing why I get fence and I only want to get, you know, to say, enough from a distance, man. Can't be from a distance. Got to be close.
He was all alone at home, Mr. Gomez?
Well, the sister say she can find my son.
But you believe certain things not add up based on the account you
Add up, sister. Not the add up. You know, I think say if I live with you in our house, right? If I live in our house, you know, by the time this happen, you know, I find me. You will say, I did day. Right? You will say, I did day. I know I can't come, you know, I know I can't find you. You are there against me because what? Like in the room.
Reporting for News 5, I'm Andrea Polanco.
A bold attempt was made on the life of 20-year-old Shamar Kelly on Friday night as he walked along Lakeview Street in the direction of Vernon Street. It is the latest round in an ongoing feud amongst gang members in that area. According to Kelly, as he neared the intersections of both streets, he heard what sounded like a gunshot before realizing that he had been injured. In the wake of the incident, Belize City Police have arrested and charged 20-year-old Kenyon Flores with attempted murder and use of deadly means of harm.
On Saturday, the 26th day of December 2020, police responded to a shooting incident on Lakeview Street. Thereafter, they visited KHMH where they found Shamar Kelly, 20 years, who reported that he was on Lakeview Street when he was approached by a male person who fired shots towards his direction, causing injuries to him. He remains at the KHMH in a stable condition. An investigation was conducted into this matter, and as well, police have arrested Kenyon Flores of a Belize City address for the crimes of attempted murder and use of deadly means of harm.
By any chance, the name Shamar Kelly sounds familiar within the past 2 weeks. Was he involved in a previous incident where 4 persons were shot?
He is known to the police. Yes, he has been investigated in the past for incidents.
Is there any motive for this particular shooting?
Ongoing rivalry with groups in that area.
Did a quartet of missing fishermen sink into a watery grave off the coast of Dangriga earlier this month when they went on a trip to southern Long Key? Police and Coast Guard personnel are still conducting search operations near the location in an effort to find 42-year-old Omar Thompson, 29-year-old Brenton Brackett, 19-year-old Leon Joseph, and Jeffrey Gomez. Despite all efforts, the men remain unaccounted for. Today, we asked Assistant Commissioner of Police Joseph Myvet for an update on the search for the fishermen, as well as a connection, if any, to a homicide that took place in Dangriga on Christmas Day.
In relation to that issue, searches were conducted extensively by police and Coast Guard officers in that area, but so far those persons haven't been found, and neither have any communication been made with their families by those persons.
Has the effort been called off?
No, it hasn't. The search is still ongoing, however, at a more reduced, if you want to call it, that at this point in time. But yes, it's still ongoing.
Is there any reason to believe that something untoward may have happened regarding these 4 individuals?
Well, we are looking at all possibilities at this point in time.
Sir, the streets are saying that there may be a connection between Gomez's murder and the disappearance of these 4 fishermen. Have the police found any evidence to that?
No, we haven't, but the same information was shared with us, and we are looking into that as well.
When we spoke with the family of Errol Gomez today, we asked them if they believed that his murder is connected to the disappearance of the 4 fishermen from Dangrega. Matthew Gomez Sr. says that he doesn't believe so, although the 4th man, Jeffrey Gomez, is a relative. He says that there is nothing to indicate that the Christmas Day murder and the disappearance are connected, simply because Jeffrey Gomez wasn't a part of that fishing trip. He simply begged for a ride on the boat and became a casualty of whatever transpired. Gomez also acknowledged that while his son knew the other 3 missing men, that they weren't his close associates.
I know Melly boy, yeah, you know, we got definitely cousin, but definitely work with him crowd there, you know. But the next 3 bedrooms are yeah, my son there. I feel with my son and thing, and all them kind of with the son and thing.
His friends.
Yeah, they're not bedrooms. You know.
You wouldn't have anything to do with their disappearance.
I don't think so, man. My son, you know, a different world. You know, when my son and then football and play football and things, then kind of weird, so right. I don't know my son. If you know about any disappearance or anybody and thing. My son was going to college for excellence and thing, man. Then the bedrooms and thing. Once upon a time, I'm a thugs. But of late, my son was really going to college at all. You know? See? So, there are a lot of speculations and thing, you know, straight out. But if a person want to join police, I don't think so. They're into no kind of crazy. They're into law abiding. You know, so I don't want to put Brock and Wack on them, and Leon and them disappearance link with my Lee son. Wack on them, then a different vibes from my Lee son. Say they gone missing, then kill my son in a house. You know, so there are 2 different stories.
And another fisherman is reportedly missing, presumably out at sea. 35-year-old Eric Swan, a resident of Orange Walk Town, was last seen 2 Fridays ago on December 18th here in Belize City. His whereabouts since that sighting remains unknown. On Sunday, an official report was filed with the Belize Police Department to state that he is missing. Senior Superintendent Alberto Romero provides a few details on Swan's disappearance.
On Sunday, the 27th day of December 2020, a missing person report was made to the police. A report was made that Eric Swan, 35 years, Belizean fisherman of Orange Walk Town, who has not been seen since the 18th day of December 2020. The last information is that he was spotted on that date in Belize City, and thereafter he has not been since. Police are now conducting an investigation to determine his whereabouts.
What can you tell us about Eric Swan in terms of either a description or any other information?
Yes, we have sent out a photograph of him, which has been shared. We are presently following several leads to try and locate him.
Sir, Swan being a fisherman, is it thought that he may also be lost at sea?
We do not know at this time. The last time he was spotted was in Belize City.
A 35-year-old police constable has been charged for a drug-related offense after being busted on Christmas Eve with a quantity of marijuana stowed inside a suitcase. PC Dion Bellini was expected to appear before Orange Walk Magistrate Court earlier today to answer to a single count of possession of controlled drugs with the intent to supply to another. Bellini's arrest on December 24th succeeded another marijuana seizure in northern Belize earlier that week.
On the 24th of December, sometime around 12:45 p.m., police officers visited a compound just on the outskirts of Orange Walk Town, where they observed a male person later identified as Dion Bellini, 35 years, police officer of a San Martin address in Belmopan, and who is posted in San Ignacio underneath a white Jeep Cherokee. As a result, Bellini was approached by police and he was informed that a search would have been conducted on the vehicle which he was in charge of. And as a result of the search, police discovered 2 suitcases in the trunk area of the Jeep, which when opened revealed 33 parcels of suspected cannabis, weighing a total of 18.2 kilograms. Bellini was then taken into custody and have since been arrested and charged for possession with intent to supply a controlled drug. He is to appear in Orange Rock Magistrates Court today.
Was this the result of information provided to police, or was this mere happenstance?
I do not want to go into the details, but there are an ongoing investigation by the police in relation to drugs in the northern districts per se. As you know, that earlier in the week there was a significant seizure on the Consejo Road in relation to this said investigation.
13 persons were recorded among the growing list of casualties of COVID-19 since Friday and over the extended Christmas weekend. 5 deaths were reported between Christmas Day and Sunday, along with 71 new confirmed cases. 3 additional deaths were reported on Monday, along with 13 new confirmed cases. 5 new deaths were reported today, with 77 new confirmed cases. This brings the total number of COVID deaths to 241. There are 10,668 confirmed cases. The total sum of active cases is now below 1,000 at 883. These figures are cases prior to the long weekend of festivities. It is expected that a spike will be seen in the next coming days, which would reflect the activities which occurred over the Christmas break. One of the persons who passed away over the weekend was René Hipólito Mo. He was an exhibit manager for over 10 years at the National Forensic Science Service. Mo passed away on December 26 from complications due to COVID-19. The Ministry of Home Affairs and New Growth Industries says that Mo's professionalism was defined by his eye for detail, his integrity and reliability, and his devoted service to his country. Mo was a champion for evidence security, and his legacy will persist at the National Forensic Science Service long into the future. After the break, Public Utilities Commission gets a new board led by the incoming chairman, Dean Molina. Attorney Dean Molina is the new chairman of the Public Utilities Commission. Today, the PUC announced Molina's appointment through a press release that cites his accomplishments as being a sole practitioner for the past 10 years and having, quote, substantial experience in utility regulation, having been the manager of legal and regulatory affairs at Belize Telemedia Limited for 5 years and the director of standards, tariffs, and compliance at the Public Utilities Commission for 3 years, unquote. Molina holds a Bachelor's of Law from the University of London, a Master's of Law in Information Technology and Telecommunications Law from the University of Strathclyde, and a postgraduate diploma from the University of the West of England in the UK. The 6 other commissioners to serve the PUC are Ricardo Na, Carlo Keith, Arun Hachandani, David Zabane, Mark Menzies, and Etienne Sharp. Molina succeeds John Avery, who demitted office earlier this month. A fatal crash between 2 motorcycles in Sarteneja has claimed the life of Braulio Villamil. According to police, he was riding a motorcycle when he collided into a Lifan motorcycle ridden at the time by Odelis Mora. The impact of the collision left Villamil critically injured, and despite being rushed to the Northern Regional Hospital, he succumbed to his injuries.
On the 24th of December, police were called to a street in Sarteneja village where they observed one Braulio Villamil, 25 years, Edrel Verde, 17 years, and Odalis Mora, 20 years, all with injuries. They also observed 2 motorcycles on the street. What the police know so far is that Braulio Villamil was traveling from a south to north direction on the street, whilst he was accompanied by Verde, whilst Odalis Mora was traveling in the opposite direction on a separate motorcycle. The investigation had shown so far that Villamil veered from a pond of water that was in the middle of the street into the oncoming rider's lane, which seemingly caused the accident. As a result, they were all transported to the Northern Regional Hospital, where Braulio Villamil succumbed to his injuries whilst undergoing treatment, whilst Odalis Mora remains hospitalized in a stable condition at the Northern Regional Hospital.
A mother of 2 is dead after being struck by a vehicle on Christmas night as she walked with her children along the Pachacan Shaibe Road in the Corozal district. Cecilia Na, who was reportedly under the influence of alcohol, was knocked down when a sports utility vehicle driven by 26-year-old Ralph Ruiz swerved away in an attempt to avoid hitting her children. The woman was run over and gravely injured. She passed away a short while later at the Corozal Community Hospital.
On the 25th of December, sometime around 7:30 p.m., Corozal police were called to an area on the Pachacan Shaibe Road where they observed a Nissan Xterra with damages to its front portion. And at the time, one Ralph Ruiz, 26 years, reported to them that he was traveling from a north to south direction on the Pachacan Road when he observed a female along with 2 children in the middle of the road. And as he approached closer, the 2 children ran into his lane, and in an effort to avoid knocking them down, he veered into the other lane, knocking down one Cecilia Na. As a result, she was transported to the Corozal Community Hospital, and she succumbed to those injuries whilst receiving treatment. The medical personnel also indicated to the police that at the time she was highly under the influence of alcohol. The Police are conducting an investigation into this matter. Mr. Ruiz was detained pending this investigation and samples taken from him. He has since been served with a notice of intended prosecution and released pending further investigation into this matter.
Sir, is police aware in whom's care the children are now?
At this point in time, no, I was not so briefed. Obviously, they live in the same area, an area known as Kanlum, which is between Pachakan and Shaibe village on the said road.
When we come back, a Key Cocker businessman is up in arms after being accused of selling liquor after 6 p.m. Over the long Christmas weekend, 176 persons were arrested and charged for violating the quarantine regulations. Of that number, 89 persons were arrested after they were caught in public during curfew hours. 71 persons were caught in public without their face masks on, and 11 were caught failing to practice social distance. 2 persons were charged for not properly wearing their face masks in public, and 1 person was arrested after he entered the country illegally. 1 person was charged for operating a business establishment contrary to the COVID-19 regulations, and another for selling liquor after 6 o'clock. Owner of Pelican Sunset Bar in Key Cocker, Eduardo Arceo, was slapped with a similar charge. He is accused of selling liquor after 6 p.m. on Sunday, December 27th. And in speaking with the Voice of Key Cocker, Arceo says that he was arrested and charged unfairly. According to Arceo, his customers had ordered the alcoholic beverages before the clock struck 6. He says they were simply waiting on food before they were harassed by the police.
Well, the very first day that the SI was implemented, which was a Sunday last week, at 6:15 p.m., I was arrested by the commanding officer itself along with 2 police officers assisting him. And I had around 17 people that day, and they were mostly tourists. Only 3 or 4 locals was here. And I was preparing dinner for all these people when I was arrested, and I was put in jail for almost 4 hours. What the commanding officer itself said, it was very clear. I was arrested for serving alcohol after 6 p.m. It has to do with the new SI in place. And I wanted to explain to him the situation, but he didn't grant me that option, and then therefore I had to call friends to assist. And again, I want to thank Mr. Minister Perez for assisting and bailing me out of the station. If it wasn't for that, I would spend the night there along with other business people on this island. People bought their drinks and they were waiting for food. And I have proofs of that, receipts with payments of credit card, a lot of food, seafood mostly. All of them were waiting for food, some were eating, but alcohol was on the table. I want to say yes, alcohol was on the table, but they were all eating or waiting for food. The officer made it very clear that I am breaking the law, and this happened around 6:15, but my charge sheet says 7:30, which is complete lie, but I had to sign just to get out of the station. I am not upset of they arresting me. I am upset that after I was arrested and being put in cell block, they came here 3 times and chased my customers, told them that if they don't leave, they would be arrested too. These are all Americans they were talking and dealing with, and these are my customers. That is the reason I am upset.
Arceo says that the current statutory instrument is choking the businesses which rely on the tourism industry. He says that there is an urgent need for adjustment.
I want the Belizean public and the government itself be aware of what the new SI is doing to the business community and to the tourism sector. And I personally believe that that new SI has to be adjusted. I understand COVID-19 is something we have to worry about, but for me as a business person, economy is more important. Without money, I can't go to a private hospital. I can't help myself. I have employees to pay. I have government bills to pay. This is not helping the economy. It's not helping anybody. Tourists are here to enjoy a vacation, and that is not happening. They are being threatened by police officers. They need to be educated, and the SI need to be adjusted. And 6 p.m. is very, very impossible. I don't think that is possible for tourism. So we will lose tourists instead of get tourists with this new SI. I don't know for how long this will continue, because according to the SI, it doesn't have a due date. We want to know when this will done, because it's affecting my business and the economy and the tourists itself. They are being threatened.
And that's the news. Tonight's broadcast is available in text at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at News 5 Live. I'm Marlene Cuellar. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, Please remember to wash your hands, keep your social distance, and stay safe. Good night.